Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. For those of you just joining us, my name is Randy Eckman, and I am the owner of Stretch Your Mind Entertainment, a small independent production company based in the Houston, Texas area, where, and by small I mean it's just me. I'm a one-man band, and so this is one of a series of live streams that I am doing about how I am trying to um, build up a business for doing live stream professional event video. Um, and so I've been going through and talking about all of the requirements and other kind of logistical things that one might need to consider for doing live streaming as a business, and the considerations for the kinds of events that I'm intending to do, and then getting into the technical details of what am I going to put into the rack that I want to build to do all of this stuff. And so I've been talking for quite a few weeks now. We started this back in August, mid-August, I think, is when I kicked off this series of streams, and been trying to do this weekly, making a little bit of progress once a week on the design and planning and beginnings of execution for doing all of this stuff. So, as I was saying, though, this is a series of videos, and so I'm going to just kind of pick up where I sort of left off last week, just like I do every week. But if you are interested in going back and watching everything from the beginning, you can go to my YouTube page or my Facebook page for my company. And we're also broadcasting live, simulcasting to YouTube, Facebook, as implied by what I was just saying, and also Twitch. My handle everywhere is at Stretch Your Mind ENT. If you want to go check out those places, though, I do have some of the older videos from earlier in the series posted there. And yeah, so you can kind of get up to speed on what we've done so far and where things are going. So with where we are today, last week when we went through this, I was saying that I think I've more or less kind of settled on an idea of what I wanted to do, what all I wanted to put in the rack. We had talked before on previous weeks about candidates for hardware that I already own or was thinking about procuring, that were candidates for inclusion or not. And I think last week I kind of decided, oh, I just kicked something off the table, so hopefully we're still good here. But yeah, so kick some stuff off. No, sorry. I just kicked something off the table. Last week, yeah, I was talking through what I wanted to include in the rack, and I think I'd kind of figured out definitively what are the things that I want to include and what I don't want to include. So it's just kind of a matter of housekeeping, getting things cleaned up on the diagram that I'm building, and making sure that I have blocks on the diagram to account for all of the different devices, because last week, even though I kind of talked about all of them, I didn't quite have blocks built for everything. So this week I finally have blocks for everything, and I laid it all out very pretty. So I'm pretty excited to show you. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, where you can see over here we've got, this is, I'm doing all of this diagramming in a website called H2R Gear, which is great for doing these sorts of AV wiring diagrams for people who are doing big stuff like this. That definitely had a name last night. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, so I put all of my hardware. Oh, it didn't save. Oh, this is making me nervous. I'm wondering if there's other things that are missing or incorrect now, that maybe didn't sync from last night. Oh, maybe I didn't actually name this one. So this was controls. We'll just say that's controls. Oops, let me spell that correctly. Okay. Yeah, so what we've got here is I've got a couple different like colorful groups of blocks, and apologize if you can't read this. The nature of this is I have to kind of keep it a little bit zoomed out to be able to see everything and interact with everything on the screen, unfortunately. But I've got these colored blocks that represent the different racks that I have, and then I have for the main rack, each row in the rack is its own kind of section, and then I've got the blocks laid out on top of those, so I know the physical layout of everything. But nothing has been quite wired up yet on here. So, but everything is on here as far as I remember and can tell. So yeah, I have. We haven't talked that much about audio up to this point. It's definitely not an afterthought. It's just something that's the most mature of all of this because I've been doing audio gigs on the side for a while now with a hardware setup that I'm pretty happy with. So I wasn't really going to make any changes to any of that stuff. So that's why I hadn't talked about it up to this point, but we can just go over very briefly what the idea is. And it says racks plural here because it is actually two separate physical racks the way that I have this set up now. But for the purposes of this diagram, I was like, the physical layout of this stuff doesn't really matter for these kinds of things. And same with this underneath here. I decided, I think last week, maybe we talked about it, or maybe I decided this offline, off of the stream, but I'm going to, I think the only way that I could make all of this work and make sense was if I split out all of the video hardware into two different racks. And this is kind of like the overflow rack. And so this is just a simple 4U rack, but since it's only 4 rack units and it doesn't really have that much in it, I was like, again, I don't really care as much about the physical layout of things in here, but this is what will be in that rack. So yeah, those are these two here. And then just quickly, but I'll come back to the audio stuff and then we'll go through everything. I've got all the main racks, like I said, are all kind of separated by their rows in the rack. The main rack is a 14U rack. And so there are 14 rows in there, and it has front and back rails for mounting things. So usually there will be 2 things on each of these rows. The one on the left is the front side, and the part on the right is the rear. But anyway, so I've also got some of my control surfaces that I want to use to interact with all of these things, which are separate peripherals. They're not inside the rack. The rack mostly, I connect things into it, but I have it set up so I don't really have to like push any buttons or interact with anything physically in the rack. And all of the controls are actually separate peripherals that will be connected via USB to either the Mac Mini or Raspberry Pi that are mounted inside of this rack that will control everything. So this is all the different individual controls and monitors and stuff that will actually be the things that I'll have sitting out on the table with me that I will actually be working with and looking at and stuff as we go through as I go through running a show. So so this is the controls area, which is separate from this, but all of this stuff I just have to I'm including all of these external things because one of the key things that I need to take away from the design here is I've got a couple different patch panels in here. There's a keystone patch panel here, and then there is a Neutrik patch panel, which may or may not get replaced. And we can talk more about that in a little bit. And then I have this like SDI patch panel down here. So I need to figure out what are the actual, I got to do the internal wiring, obviously, but I also need to figure out what are the external interfaces to the rack going to be, and then deciding what things do I want to put in these patch panels, because these patch panels are such a pain in the butt to assemble. And so I will try to go and assemble those offline ahead of time. So then when I'm ready to build, hopefully next week, I'm hoping that I'll actually be ready to start building and putting some pieces together, and doing something fun. Um, yeah, I need to figure out what the interfaces are. So I need to make sure that, like, if I know I'm gonna have, there's this monitor up here, that's 15-inch monitor here that's shown on this display. Again, and I acknowledge that it's probably extraordinarily hard to read for anyone on the stream, but this is a monitor over here, and so I need to make sure that, like, I have an HDMI output somewhere on the rack that I can plug this monitor into, or otherwise this monitor does me no good. So these are the kinds of things that, yes, the internal wiring matters, but the external wiring probably matters more right now because of the nature of the logistics of still doing the physical layout planning and things like that. So we've got the controls, we've got these other external peripherals. There's the separate rack, but there's going to be I have like a snake cable that will connect the two racks together. It's a 6. I'm only holding up 4 fingers. 6. It is a 6 strand SDI snake. It's got 6 3G SDI cables in it, all bundled together. And so this, I believe the way that I set this all up, if I did it smartly and correctly, I'll only have to connect a single Ethernet cable, and all 6 strands of the SDI cables will go into, ports on the Neutrik panel for this 4U rack. And that will cover everything that's in this rack. And that's all the connectivity that needs to happen. But I still need to make sure that I have those 6 connections available down here. And then we've got the connections to the audio and stuff. Although, spoiler alert, although I've talked about this on previous streams, all of my, I think I have, maybe not. My whole audio system is running with Dante. So I have an X32 rack with the X Dante card inside of it. So Dante is an internet protocol for audio. It's audio over IP. So you can you don't have to have all of your audio equipment, say, necessarily hardware. I mean, it has to be wired in with like an Ethernet cable, but you don't have to have XLR cables. So like you don't have to have like a giant snake, which would be typical for, if you're running a concert or something in like a very large venue or something. They'll have these gigantic big snakes with 40 different XLR cables on one end, or strands on either end, and you have to like connect up all these things and stuff. Those are heavy, a pain in the butt, and so it's really nice to be able to connect these things and send audio data, a lot of audio data back and forth, just over a single network cable. And I can even do trunk cables, so I can have multiple different connections all happening simultaneously on a single cable. So I can have all the audio stuff technically isolated in its own network that isn't talking to anything else, but still share a cable with something that like might be the control. It might be be an Ethernet cable that has control data for the PTZ camera or something, like the pan tilt zoom camera. They're like robo camera. So that's the nice thing about Dante. It's very, very expensive though, and kind of a pain to get working in the first place. But once you get it working, it works extremely well, and it's super handy, and it's easy to just like repatch things and have multiple different devices all kind of sharing the same audio sources and all sorts of stuff. So it really makes audio much, much simpler in general. So Dante is magical. So anyway, I do have the X32 rack, which there are ports on the back. Essentially, my plan is to use the X32 itself as like a stage box. So I don't have to, even though all of my audio mixing, and some people might consider this risky, but it's the nature of what we're doing here. And I do trust the X32 it seems pretty bulletproof. I've put it through its paces, and it works pretty well, and it's kind of a standard at this point. So for this like low end broadcast audio stuff. So the idea is that this box will be potentially on the stage where a performance might be happening. It doesn't have to be in the control. If I'm in a smaller venue or something like that, yeah, maybe I can just run all the cables back to me and then plug it in and keep the thing next to me. But it might, in a number of cases, actually be easier. I might have other reasons that I want to instead put this out on the stage where the performers are and stuff. So then I only have to have short XLR cable runs, short microphone cable runs that just go to the X32 rack. And then all of the audio from this comes back over the Ethernet cable and then comes into the video rack through ports. We'll get to it later. So that's the idea here, and that's why I'm kind of like neglecting audio, because the idea is just there's going to be an Ethernet cable coming out of probably one of these Keystone patch panel ports, like the Ethernet ports in this patch panel. That it just be an Ethernet cable that runs out to here, and that drives all of this stuff. It's one connection, and everything happens magically. So, yeah, so that's what's happening here with the audio. So, I'm not even going to worry about wiring that stuff up in the diagram right now, like I said, because I just need to have a single Ethernet cable coming out of this port 8 that connects into one of the connections down below. Okay, so we talked about last time I had said, I think I talked about the idea was if I have this separate 4U rack that has the SmartView Duo in it, as well as my ATEM SDI Pro ISO, then these two devices really, like, that's all you need to run a stream, and that's all I'm really running right now. There's a little bit more complexity with this setup for other reasons that we have talked about before, and because I'm just I overkill with everything I do. So really, in a minimalistic sense, if I were really needing to do something super compact, and it was a very small event, a very small venue or something like that, let's say it's just like a very simple conference or something that I was doing, and it's just in a tiny little conference room or something like that, but it's something they still want to share and have something that's a little higher end production, then I could just show up with this little 4U rack, like sit in the back corner and run the show on the SDI Pro ISO, and I have the SmartView Duo monitors there to monitor the outputs from the ATEM SDI Pro ISO out. So I mean, we can go ahead and actually wire that up. So the output from let's see, gosh. All right, so we have a Neutrik patch panel here. I think all of these by default I have set to SDI. I can swap any of these out later. But so we have the output from SDI port 1. So the SmartView Duo is monitor. It has two SDI monitors in it. And you can have the signal that goes into it. It will also loop it back out, so you can daisy chain other devices onto it. So the actual outputs here from the monitors, channel 1 and 2, are going to go into channels 1 and 2 in the patch panel, and then eventually make their way into the big rack through the snake that I'll add on here later. So going into the two SmartView Duo displays here will be the outputs 1 and 2 from the ATEM SDI Pro ISO. So we can connect those. Now, I don't like the way that these cables are laid out, so you can add a pin which allows you to like influence how this wiring goes. Yeah, so we can like do that, and I'll do the same thing with this one. I'm going to add a pin. I don't know where it put it. Oh, right there. Okay, so we can do something like that. Maybe we'll do that. There we go. That's a little cleaner. I'm not going to spend a lot of time making this pretty. It just needs to be so that I can see all the cables. I don't like how sometimes it by default will like have cables running behind things and stuff like that. It's messy and very hard to follow. Okay, so there we go. We've got some connections done, and then we have 4 inputs coming into this thing, which will be, because I need to put these into the outputs. It's a confusing part about this. So we got input 5, and input 4 will be coming in through 6 on the Neutrik patch panel down there. So one thing I'm not sure about, again, is like how the layout of all of this is going to be so that it's like readable and stuff. So we'll have to toy around with this a little bit, I think, as we go. Okay. Yeah, I can't really move that. It'll just have to live like that, I think, for now. There's a switch here that will have an Ethernet there. There's an Ethernet here. Oh, that's really hard to see against the purple, but I'll, again, not worry about that right now. Let's shrink that magenta, though, a little bit. And because I can hover over this and it'll highlight the cables. Yeah, and then this will be the Ethernet port that gets connected somewhere else further upstream. I am going to edit this to change, oh gosh, let's do 7. We'll make 7 into an Ethernet port. What I don't know is this going to break all the connections that exist already? That was the big question I had last time, and it wasn't clear to me what was going to happen if I do this. Okay, it looks like the connections are... oh, except I just broke that one. Okay, so then input 7 is now Ethernet. Okay, so we'll have... nope, I did this wrong. This output will go into the input of the LAN up here. We'll add a pin. Where did the pin go? There it is. Okay. All right. And then lastly, we have the crucial X8 SSD, which will be plugged into the USB port of this guy. Now, all right. I'm very frustrated right now. So, the ATEM SDI Pro ISO, I bought this device specifically to use it as an ISO recorder, in order to save a little bit of money and simplify things a little bit by only having one physical device that does recording for a bunch of different channels. So this one records 4 channels. They make higher end models, but I was like, I really only need 4 that I want to record potentially at any given time. So I will just do the 4. So it's nice because you can have a USB like solid state drive that you can plug into this device, and if it's formatted correctly and it's one that like meets their requirements, it's on their official like approved list of devices that work with this switcher / recorder, you can record your files onto that. However, these things notoriously are very picky about what SSDs you have connected to them. And I made sure to get one that had a lot of good reviews, that people had said, like, yes, this definitely works with this device. I have experience with it and it works and everything. So I made sure to get this crucial X8 SSD because this was one of the ones that it was supposed to work with this thing. And lo and behold, the last couple weeks, I think the last 2 streams that I've had now, when I've hit record to record the videos from these streams that we're doing here, it has been dying at some point in the middle of the show. And so it doesn't complete the recording. And I haven't actually checked any of the files from previous weeks, especially the ones where this has happened. So I don't know if the files are corrupted. So I might have lost the whole thing, or if it's just part of it that's gone. I don't really know. I haven't looked into it. All I know is, though, that it stops recording. And there's not a way to recover it without rebooting the ATEM. So because I'm using that, as I mentioned before, I'm using this as my switcher for this stream. So if I reboot this, you're gonna lose the video, signal from the stream, and that doesn't seem like a good plan to me. I did that early on when I was kind of doing, bootstrapping this whole thing, getting it set up, and just starting out with doing like Twitch streaming and stuff. I did that a couple times where I would kill a stream and start it back up. But now that I've got like these routine streams I'm trying to stick to with the intent / hope that I have regular viewers, but I know that like nobody's watching right now, probably. I'm just talking to the void. Anyway, yeah, it's a big pain in the butt, because once this thing, if it stops recording, if you unplug the drive and like plug it back in, it doesn't matter what you do. It won't let you restart the recording until you reboot the device. The device will continue to function. So I will continue to be running like the streams. I just notice that it like stops recording, and then I'm just like, well, there's nothing I can do about it now because I'm running the show. Now, I don't intend to use this primarily for the big money gigs, right? Like I said, I might use this for like a small little thing here and there that I just want something quick and portable and easy. Sure, I might take this out on the road and use it as an actual switcher, but I intended more really to use it as a recorder than an actual switcher. So I guess in that sense, if I'm not using it as a switcher, it's much, it's lower stakes if I have to reboot it. It's okay if it goes down, except for the fact that you lose recording during that time while you're down and stuff. So this is making me very unhappy. So I was watching, I know Doug Johnson, who's another person who's kind of like been a big inspiration for a lot of the work that I'm doing here and the design and everything of what I'm doing. He recently did a video about these kinds of issues and how notorious Blackmagic products are at like their compatibility with different SSDs and hard drives and things like that. And so he had some recommendations on drives that he's had great success with, that seem to be pretty bulletproof. He has his own drive tests to make sure that everything is well behaved and gets good stats that you need for this kind of work and stuff. So anyway, his recommendation was to get a Sabrent external M.2 enclosure and buy your own M.2 SSD and put that into this enclosure, and these will apparently work with at least some Blackmagic devices for recording. So I got this. What I failed to do was look closer at the YouTube comments from those YouTube videos, where people were saying specifically that this combo of a Sabrent drive with, I have a Samsung 980 Pro SSD in here, that's a 1 terabyte. This specific combo, for some reason, does not work with the SDI Pro ISO, and maybe any of the ATEM minis. I don't know for sure, but I know specifically they said the ATEM SDI Pro ISO, which is the one that I have, and of course it doesn't work for me. So I'm like, no, I just bought this thing specifically for this purpose, to try to, rule out that the Crucial drive was the one that, that it's this Crucial X8 SSD. Is this the problem? If I try doing a different drive, one that's allegedly the most reliable, then I should have more success. So, and I'm not, this is more of it's a Randy problem. This is, because Doug Johnson is not using this specific piece of hardware that I have. So this isn't what he's testing against. And, all of this stuff is fickle anyway. And everyone who's ever worked with Blackmagic design hardware knows how fickle this stuff is sometimes. And so, it is the way that it is. I'm just upset with myself that I didn't do more research before I bought this. So anyway, I mean, I did just get it. I probably could keep the SSD and trade in, return the enclosure. I haven't really looked into that yet, though, definitively. I do still have. So funny enough, I threw out the packaging that came with the SSD because I was like, they're not gonna. Usually, that's the kind of thing that they don't accept. Places don't accept returns on if you've opened it and used it. I don't know if they'll accept returns on the enclosure, but I threw out all the packaging for all that stuff, but I kept the box for and all of the documentation for the Sabrent SSD enclosure. So I might be able to return this and try getting a different one, because the hypothesis that I've seen from other people online, once I did discover that I was not unique in that this combination of device pieces weren't working with this switcher. They had said that the hypothesis was that there's not enough power being supplied through the USB port to power this drive with this enclosure. And so allegedly, if you get a different enclosure that allows for external power, then that will work. The downside is you need an external enclosure that requires external power. And that was nice about having this, where it was a passive thing. And maybe that's the issue with the Crucial too. Maybe it's that the Crucial is actually very reliable, generally speaking, if you're using it with other Blackmagic products that have this USB connection feature, but are supplying more power through the USB. So maybe the USB port is being underpowered for the Crucial drive as well, and that's why it's failing. So maybe I will have more success if I were to swap this out with something that is powered independently. Now, that'll make things very difficult for what I'm doing right here at this stream, because I have a power strip on this table that has 10 ports on it, and every single one of those ports has something plugged into it. So I've got a lot of power spoken for here. I don't have room on this table for more powered devices. So I'll have to think more carefully about how I do this going forward for this Twitch stream that we're doing right now, if I need to have external power for this guy. So if I do replace this here though, oh, you know what's missing here? I think I'm supposed to have another one of these guys. One of these, I think I was planning to put its own power supply in here, in this rack. And so this is the, what is this thing called? It's the Furman power supply, or power conditioner. So there'll be power needed from the 5-port switch. We'll need power going to the SmartView Duo. And we'll need power going to the ATEM SDI Pro ISO. And maybe I will need to get power to whatever external hard drive or external SSD enclosure that I replace this with. So there's that. Okay. So anyway, this was supposed to be a minor piece of this whole thing, and wasn't intending to spend as much time on it as I have, but that's the theme of these streams. Okay. I talked earlier about the other peripherals that are on here. What I didn't talk about though is I do have all my cameras and stuff on here too. So I do have a 43-inch TV that's like a spare TV I'm not using for anything right now. And I bought I got a few of a number of these things from really good deals on Amazon Prime Day. And so I got a tripod TV mount, like a VESA TV mount, or Visa. I mean, I would think that it's pronounced Visa, but for some reason I have hesitation about that I can't explain. So we'll say Visa. The Visa mount, which is the standard kind of mount that you have for big screen TVs. Anyway, it has one of those mounts, but on top of a tripod, like a speaker tripod that you would use for like a big DJ speaker. It's pretty cool. So got that, and then I put this TV on that, and I figured I could use that as a confidence monitor. So that's like a monitor either on the stage or near the stage. So the person who's on stage can see a preview of what's happening on the stream, or you can also use it to put up other messages for the people on stage, like wrap it up, or have a clock that they can see that they know what time it is or how much time is left in the show. Stuff like if it's something that's on a schedule, so stuff like that. So anyway, I got this TV. We want to have this as part of the rack system. Got to make sure that we have a port available for that. Then we have our cameras, which we did talk about last time, but I didn't have things for all of these cameras. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so the primary camera that I intend to use for everything is the Panasonic Lumix GH5. Officially, the name is the DC GH5. This is my main camera that I want to use for everything. I did see a guy on Facebook in one of the groups that I'm in saying that he has a Video Assist 12G monitor / recorder, a 4K recorder that he was going to sell for like half price. I love finding deals like that. And so and he's in Houston. And so I reached out to him to see if it was still available and if I could claim it. I haven't seen any response yet, but my day job has been very busy lately. So I was working right up until like just a few minutes before the stream started, and I set everything up in a panic a few minutes ago. So he might have responded to me and I just haven't seen it yet. But anyway, yeah. So that would make things really amazing if I had this, because I think, and I haven't verified this, but I think if I had this, then I could have an HDMI port, HDMI cable going from the camera to this monitor. But then I think it will convert the signal to SDI. It has an SDI input and output. And I don't think it's necessarily a loop out. I think you can use it to cross convert. So if that's the case, then I could have the HDMI out from this camera going into the Video Assist through HDMI in, having it coming out through SDI out, and then I will have all of my primary cameras will be on connected to the switcher using SDI at that point. I had been reserving the single HDMI input on my switcher for this camera because I thought this was my main camera, and I was gonna have it do HDMI because it's the nicest one, and I wanted to, and I'll probably have it close to me anyway, because I don't really have a way to remote control it currently. So anyway, that was the thought, but I may not need to use that HDMI input for this if I have this and it does indeed cross convert. I think this is a good thing to have anyways, because, aside from all the drama that I just said about the Sabrent drive, the Video Assist monitor is also a recorder, an external recorder, so I could use that to record the video coming from the GH5 in a dedicated thing here. Now, the reason that I say that is because the GH5 does, it obviously it it has SD card slots, ports. What is the right word there? SD card slot? Yeah. It has card slots in the camera, and it has 2 card slots in the camera, and you can put SD cards in and record to those cards from the camera. So why do I need an external recorder? So the GH5 is a 4K camera, but it cannot record internally in 4K, I believe. Or there may be some limit, like a time limit or something. I don't remember how that all works, but I know that there's some trick about GH5 and recording 4K. And a lot of people have instead resorted to doing external recorders for those things. Now, I don't generally plan on doing any streams in 4K. I'll probably have... I've been wanting to protect for like making my whole setup be future proofed as much as I can now with the hardware that I have and stuff, but without procuring any new hardware specifically to that end. So this camera is a 4K camera already. I already have the camera, and it outputs a 4K signal, or is capable of doing that, but it doesn't have a native capability to record 4K, at least as far as I'm aware. And so I was planning like, I'll just use the internal recording for this, so it would not be one of the channels that's on the ATEM SDI Pro ISO, especially since the ATEM SDI Pro ISO has been showing signs that it does not want to play nice and does not always record everything reliably, and that makes me very nervous. And so if this is the main camera and I want to be sure that I have a backup recording of what's happening on the main camera, I either need to only record it in camera in HD, or I can use this video assist to record, because this will record a 4K signal. So yeah, so that would be really awesome to have that. Or even just as another backup, just to be 100% sure that, like, yes, I got the camera view from this main camera recorded somewhere, if nothing else. So there's that. So we got the GH5 and the video assist question mark, which doesn't currently exist in my hardware, but I'm willing to pay the money for this, even though I don't have the money, because I think it's a really great deal and a good... And like the guys in Houston and everything, like it's meant to be, right? So anyway, hopefully he gets back to me. Okay, so we got the GH5. We got the GoPro, which is my overhead camera right now, which you can't see because I don't have it set up to show in the way that I got this layout right now. And I am not going to go in and change settings just so you can see my overhead camera. But I do have it on today because I might, if I have time later, just to do something a little bit different than staring at this screen. I do have another new toy that I wanted to get out, and we can unbox it and play with it maybe for a little bit. But we'll see. I might not do that today. So we got the GoPro, the old reliable GoPro, that I want to have as a like a unique camera shot from like on the stage or something like that. That I talked about before. Yeah, it's going to have its own power, but it's going to be in mini HDMI cable going into the HDMI in of an HDMI to SDI mini converter, which will output an SDI signal that will go into a Pro Convert SDI transmit by Magewell. So this converts an SDI signal into an NDI signal, which kind of like Dante is like video over the internet, video over IP. And so I can just run an Ethernet cable out to this camera, and then I don't have to worry about the signal as much. So that's one of the main reasons that I was saying that I don't want to have for the audio, like you don't want to have to run very long analog cables. So like, XLR cables for microphone cables, they are still analog connections. They're not digital. And they are prone to noise as such. Digital signals tend to be more robust to noise for a number of reasons. And so that's the nice thing about the audio here, like having these being able to run really long Ethernet cables, because Ethernet cables can run for decently long distances without any degradation of the signal. They won't go like across stadiums and stuff, and that's where you have to have fiber optic cables that we've talked about before, and that's why a lot of pro video stuff is actually using fiber optics. But the next best thing is then SDI. But then if you also can do Ethernet, Ethernet I think even has a longer run, a longer allowable run where the signal won't degrade compared to SDI. So anyway, but for a number of reasons, I don't want to make that my main. I don't want to do an all NDI system. That is a thing that some people do and some people think is the way of the future. I don't think that it is personally, at least just because the networking architecture just isn't there right now. It may get there someday, but right now video really needs dedicated hardware, dedicated cabling and stuff like that. We don't have the computers and the bandwidth and stuff at this point still to do good 4K broadcast video with just all internet signals. It limits you a lot. Look, I have this hardware switcher that I bought, this big beefy boy that has 20 inputs, and no computer that I could afford could, like, even for if I bought a computer for the same money that I spent on that switcher, it would not be able to support 20 inputs. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't have the network throughput. It doesn't have the graphics card capabilities. Like, that's the limiting factor, is having dedicated hardware is always going to be cheaper than using general purpose computers like laptops and Windows desktops or Mac desktops especially. All that stuff is very expensive for what it is. So, not as much bang for your buck. Anyway, though, if I have a couple of these digital video signals, I can handle that. So, the idea is that I wanted to have the GoPro be put that in like some sort of inconspicuous place, and then just run an Ethernet cable to that little area, and then that would be more or less it. I will still have to get power somehow to these things, but this device can be powered over Ethernet, so the Ethernet cable can power this. And then that would just leave the camera itself and this adapter, which both can be powered using USB. So I could just use a battery, like one of those cell phone charger batteries or something, or I could just run like kind of a longer USB cable to somewhere else where there's power. Yeah. So anyway, that's the idea with that one. Okay, then I got this. It's a PTZ Optics camera. So it does pan tilt zoom. It's completely robotic controlled. It's a broadcast grade camera and has 30 times zoom. It's a pretty awesome little camera. It was not cheap when I got it. But again, it's another one. I got it now. So if I were doing this from scratch, I wouldn't buy it. But I have it. So there we go. It also supports NDI, but I will primarily be using the SDI output of that going into everything. Yeah, so there's that one. And then we have my handy cam that I'm using for this stream right now, which I don't intend to make part of the stream. I'm not intending to use it as an actual camera for a broadcast. It's just something that I can use it as a utility camera to go and get some, I could put it backstage or something like that, so I can just see what's going on backstage and monitor things going on in an event where I can't physically be. I can't be in two places at once, so I could set up a camera to be in the other place and be my eyes for me and just have it running into the system. And just never put it on the screen, but on the show, but it would be on a monitor in front of me where I can see it from the control area. So I could run this using HDMI, depending if it was near the switcher. I could just run it into the HDMI input in the switcher out of the rack. I probably will end up needing to run it through one of my converters. I do have a bidirectional SDI HDMI converter. Probably what I will do is have the output from this camera, the HDMI output, going into the HDMI input of the microconverter, and have the HDMI output from the microconverter going to the TV, the confidence monitor that was up here. So that would potentially be an option. And then let me add a pin to this guy so I can make this not suck. And then I'll have just two SDI cables running out. One is an outgoing signal to the TV, and one is an incoming signal from this camera. So that would allow me to get this set up further away, and again would remove another dependence on an HDMI input in the rack. It's abstracting that away. And then finally, I have a Blackmagic Design Micro Studio Camera 4K. This is the original model, not the Gen 2 that just came out and was updated. It's the older one with all of its shortcomings that we don't need to get into. I've never actually used this camera. I got it used on eBay some years ago, and then for a number of reasons, I've never even taken it out of the packaging. I think I powered it on once to make sure that it wasn't dead, but I didn't even have the right SDI cables for it, because it is an SDI connection. I think it has an HDMI out, but it's really only for monitoring. It's not intended for broadcast. So the signal coming out of this is an SDI signal, but it doesn't use a standard SDI port. It uses like a mini BNC port or something like that. It's some sort of special thing. So I had to like get special adapter cables and stuff. So yeah, I've never, I got those long after I like tested out the camera and put it back in the box, and I was like, all right, I'll get to this when I get to it later, and then never did. So I've never tested it out. So hopefully this guy works, but I'm planning on it working. If not, I guess there's going to be a Battlefield promotion for the Handycam. So this camera though, will have an SDI signal going into the switcher. I do intend, however, to put this guy on. My idea for this was I'm going to put it on a crane. I do have a crane. So I'm going to put it on the end of the crane and use for the head to drive, have the camera mounted on this Ronin RS2 gimbal, which can also function as a pan tilt zoom head for another camera when you mount it on something. So I figured I would put this on. I would put the Ronin, put the camera on the Ronin, put the Ronin on the crane, and then I would probably just, if it's a one-man band kind of show, I could use the crane to put a camera in another like unique viewpoint, or get something that's like above the crowd or something like that. But then basically just fix that camera view, just lock everything down, and then it would just stay mounted there. But I could at least control the camera on the head, so I could still zoom in or like turn it, pan it and tilt it left and right, up and down, and get some variety in shots that way. So effectively, this allows me to have another remote control camera like this PTZ camera up here. This effectively becomes one. In order to control it, you have to have this device does not. It's a really awesome thing that is kind of becoming an industry standard. However, it's really designed to be used by a user physically holding, like it's designed to be used as a gimbal, and not necessarily as a PTZ head. It just also does that. So if you want to use it like that, and you aren't nearby, it doesn't allow you to have very long cable runs or anything like that for controlling it remotely. So you have, instead I have this device from a company called Middle Things, based out of, I think, Belgium. And they built a device called an APC-R that allows you to connect to this CAN bus port, which these technically should connect, and it's just, I effed this up. CAN bus. I'm going to call this custom 1, maybe. Is that what I have on here? Nope. Oh, it's because they're both outputs. All right. Well, I got to figure out. I'll figure this out later. I'm not gonna do this here. Anyway, I think the CAN bus needs to be an input. And I said I wasn't gonna do it. Now I'm gonna do it. So we'll move this over to the inputs and then try it again one more time. So you take this CAN bus connection from the APCR signal going out and then goes into the CAN bus input on the focus wheel adapter that you also have to buy separate. I ended up having to buy a bunch of accessories just to make this whole thing work. Again, it was another one of these. Why did I do this? Why did I buy all this stuff? It was so stupid. But I have it now and it's cool, so we're gonna use it. Okay, so you got the CAN bus connection going into this thing, and then you have an Ethernet cable that connects to this guy, and you can control it over the internet, just like everything else. So again, like I can have this switch in the audio rack that is connecting the audio, all the audio network for the Dante stuff could be connected through this, but I could also have the control for this pan tilt zoom camera, I can have the control for the middle things box going through that. I could have the video signal, the NDI signal coming in through this guy, going through that Ethernet port, and so then I could still just run one Ethernet port up to the front of the stage and control and connect to all of those things, and have signals going back and forth. So it's a pretty cool feature. I will still, because I have not invested in the fiber and stuff like that up to this point, I would still need to run SDI for the things that I'm going to use hardline SDI connections, like the pan tilt zoom camera here, which it is an NDI camera. I could use the Ethernet, but I'm not going to. I'll use the SDI output from this, and then obviously the SDI output from this guy because it doesn't do anything else. And then I guess the SDI cables for these. So I could have basically 4 SDI cables going up to the stage or the stage vicinity, if that's where all of this hardware is located. So 1 Ethernet cable and 4 very long SDI cables, and that's it. That's all I would need to connect all of my cameras and audio and everything, and link that to the control, my little control booth back here with the racks. So that's what the cameras are and what all these things are. It's not quite all connected here, and again, I'm not going to connect this all up to this stuff today, because really what we're supposed to be doing is connecting this stuff. Okay, let's get going. So let me consult my cheat sheet. So one of the main things that I need, I have a few. Okay, so I originally had in the rack this very fancy HDMI switcher, or matrix, that I was going to use to distribute and be able to like monitor a bunch of different signals over HDMI. I've decided to take that out of the rack in lieu of having things hard-coded or hardwired to the monitors. Hardwired, in quotes. And so in order to make that work, I'm going to have a lot of hardwire connections that I otherwise was not going to have. Originally, I was going to try to run as much stuff as I could through my Smart Video Hub 20x20, and then use that to route everything, so then I would be able to more dynamically move things around if I need to and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I might have like 1 gig every couple weeks or something like that. That gives me adequate time to take this whole, take the panels off and get in there and shove my hand up there and rewire this stuff if I need to. So I think it's okay to have hardwired stuff. It's only an issue if I get to a venue and then I have a problem, and then I can't, especially if it's something where I would have to get inside the rack that would be difficult, but not impossible. So anyway, there's pros and cons to having a lot of stuff hardwired, but that's what we're going to do. So I have a list of connections that I need to make. And then from that, one of the things that I haven't yet figured out is how, like I said, I don't quite have figured out what's going to go in all the patch panels. What is going to go to the Neutrik panel? What's going to go to the Keystone panel? Do I still need the SDI patch panel at all? Probably. I'm thinking that I'm going to keep the SDI patch panel and get rid of the Neutrik patch panel and not, I don't think I need the Neutrik panel anymore in here. But I haven't shown that for sure because I don't know what all connections I'm going to need. So I'm going to wire up the things that I know ahead of time. I already have written out. These are the most important connections I need to have set up in here in order for this whole thing to work. And then from that, whatever inputs I have left over are fair game for me to assign to other devices in the rack or have them open free ports that can go to either, additional ports on the smart hub, the smart video hub, or to a patch panel so I can have external inputs that I can add later without hard coding thing or hardwiring things. So that will be nice. That's something that I need to do and why I haven't done the patch panels yet, because I haven't figured out, aside from the essential connections, what all is going to get plugged into where else definitively. I have ideas, but we gotta put it all in there. So I'm gonna take a break. My voice is tired. And like I've said before, I'm trying to do about an hour at a time here and take a small break. So I'm going to go take 5 minutes and you should as well. And we will all meet back here in 5 minutes where I will start going into the essential wiring to make this all work. And then we can fill in the gaps from there. So I will see you in 5 minutes. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for being late. I was right here, and I was just on my phone, not paying any attention. I lost track of time. Well, the bad news is that that video assist that I from the guy in Houston is not available. So unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So a girl can dream, and one day maybe I will have that. That's been on my wish list for a long time. Anyway, so we're back to I need to make sure I have an HDMI input for that camera. Is essentially what that means. And I will just have to rely on HDMI recording for now, or HD 1080p. That's what I was trying to say. Gosh, did I say HDMI earlier too? I don't know. Anyway. All right. Well, let's go. Let's figure out what the connections are that we need to make. Let me get my screen up. How are you, Craig? Yeah? He's just sitting here on the bed looking at me. I love you. He's like, give me treats. No. You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. Okay, maybe you'll get treats later. Okay, so we have HDMI. Right. Okay, so the main part of this was, oh my gosh, excuse me. I was trying to count how many HDMI connections I was going to need to make in the switcher, or in the rack, kind of in anticipation of figuring out what are the things that I need to include in the patch panels. So I know that I'm going to need a program 1 output, a program 2 output. I need an HDMI input 1 for the switcher. I have, oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Then I have one output going to the first monitor. I have another output going to a second monitor. I have another output going to potentially a stage monitor, or a confidence monitor in the event that I don't run it through SDI. And then we have a spare HDMI input. And that even right there is 7 inputs. So I actually have, so what I did was another thing that I got on a good deal from Amazon Prime Days was, I think I talked about this before maybe. I got some HDMI pass-through connectors for a Keystone panel. I had not previously had HDMI connectors for a Keystone. I only had Neutrik HDMI connectors. I thought the HDMI plug was too big physically to fit into the little squares for a Keystone panel. But apparently not. And they do make them, and they had good reviews and stuff. And so I got 8 of them. And that is maybe 2 more than I needed already. Now I'm not going to return them, because I got a good deal on them. And I'm sure this is not the last time I modify this rack. So at some point I might need more. He's so cute. I might need more HDMI inputs or outputs at some point. So I'm going to keep them. I may not put them in the Keystone panel. I may only put the ones that I need in here, but I have options. So I also know that I have some BNC connections in the Keystone panel right now, which are a huge pain to get in and out of there. So I will probably use those and leave them in there unless I really don't need them. Slash need to recover some spots for Ethernet ports, which I may actually need. I think. My stupid robot vacuum. I just heard it saying that it's jammed. Anyway, that's we'll deal with that in a bit. I'll take another break in a little while and deal with that. I know exactly what it was too. It's your stupid. Oh no, it's not. It's probably one of your toys though. It's almost certainly one of your toys. Craig. I thought it was his spider, his favorite toy, but no, it's actually in here. It's just sitting on the floor right now. He's too sleepy. He is too sleepy. Yeah, so the BNC connectors for the Keystone panel are a pain in the butt to swap out. So let me figure out what ports I have as BNC connections already. So we have the Keystone patch panel here in rack row 4. Currently, they're numbered left to right 1 to 24. There are 24 slots, little square things that I can put ports in. And I have BNC connectors in 15 through 24. So let me edit this. So we'll come in here and we said 15 through 24. So all of these are SDI. I wish there were a faster way to do this. There has to be. I think I can do this, but you still have to click on it. I've learned if you click off or hit enter, it does not accept. You have to click on it. It's kind of annoying. There's just some very minor things about this interface that drive me crazy. It's a fantastic tool though, so I commend John Barker and friends for creating this. However, it doesn't mean that I don't still curse you under my breath frequently. Just because it's like, I think it only bothers me so much because everything is so great about this and it has so many great things, so many features that make this incredible, that then when there are these like very minor oversights, it's like, how did they miss this? And so then it just makes it extra more annoying compared to something that just like doesn't work all the time. Then you just come to expect it to like be glitchy and stupid, like, maybe the ATEM SDI Pro ISO and its recording capability that I bought this thing for. I'm not bitter. I'm bitter. No, I lied. I'm very bitter about it. Shut up, vacuum. I'm not going to come fix you right now. Okay. All right. So those are the SDI or the BNC connectors that are in the Keystone. So then that leaves me with 14 unclaimed ports. 1 through 14 currently are different combinations of Ethernet and a handful of other handy things that I've stuck in there for now. But the BNC ones are the biggest pains to swap out. So those okay, let's go ahead and there's a couple that I already know are going to stay, right? Because like we know that I'm still going to need the Toslink connector. I'm going to just call this input 1 though. So this will be the connection for the Toslink for the Clarity M Stereo device, which uses the SPDIF or SPDIF. I saw somebody the other day actually say, I hate calling it that, the SPDIF connection, which is a fiber optic connection. So there's that connector I do have on there already, and I'm just going to leave that one. And then I also have a USB port on slot 3. This one's an Ethernet, but well, I should say it's an RJ45 technically, so it's the same connector as an Ethernet port, but it is not an Ethernet connection. It's actually going to the RS422 connector on the back of the ATEM switcher, the big switcher, the production 4K 2ME, not the Pro ISO. Anyway, that's what this is, and I guess I could repurpose this as an Ethernet port if I wanted to later, but for now we'll keep that there because this might be enough. Yeah, but anyway, so I think that my switch is going to end up with so many I'm going to end up with so many extra ports that are unused that I'm going to probably end up filling much of the rest of this with just Ethernet connections to the switch, the network switch, so that I can expose all those connections because they're all internal connections, at least the way that I'm setting this up. It has the option to do either way, but I'm going to do it with the ports inside, and then I'll just have to wire up all these Ethernet ports. Okay, so we got that. So we got those things that we know about. So we got the, I don't have to worry too much about the output here because that's going to go into here, and then we got the input though is going to go to the HDMI audio extractor, SPDIF. Okay, so we'll get that one. We'll connect that now. I also said that that's all the big inputs. Here's the RS422 connection. Oh, yeah, this is kind of an annoying thing about this. So, I guess in order to make a connection, you have to have both ports on the screen. There's not a way to like, so this is going to be real annoying for some of these where it has to go like way far off the page. Yeah, that's going to be annoying. But it is what it is. And not much I can do about it. Okay, so I'll just have to zoom out when I go to do those. Okay, so we said like this is the RS422 connection going to the ATEM, and then we have finally a USB port that TBD how this is going to get connected. So there are things like the ATEM, and I think also the Smart Video Hub. I think they can only update their firmware using USB connections. So I'll have, I think I have a USB hub that I'm going to just toss in here and connect these two devices to that USB hub, and then the USB hub will get plugged into this little USB port pass through. That then I can connect up to a computer if I need to update the firmware without having to tear the whole system apart. Okay, so I've been talking in my deeper voice, which is actually much harder on your voice. And my voice is naturally higher. I don't know why I've been talking so low lately. But it's taken a toll on my voice. So I'm gonna try to talk up a little bit more for the rest of the night. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna figure out the USB thing later. Let's see, what else can we connect? All right, so let's go back up to the HDMI connections though, because I got sidetracked by that. So I know that I'm gonna have the ATEM program out So there are dedicated program out HDMI ports. Program 1 HDMI. For program 1, there is a dedicated connection. So we need to connect this up to the HDMI audio extractor. So we'll go all the way up to HDMI up there. And then see, this is one of these ridiculous connections that I was talking about before. So we're going to add a pin and try to make this connection not go under a bunch of stuff. But I think we're going to have to do something awkward here. Ooh, I already don't like this. I'm going to add a second pin. Oh, God. I had not done that yet. Where did that other pin go? Did it put it under this thing? That's going to make me so mad. I think it did. I got to move this. Ah! That's annoying. That's really annoying. Why did it do that? All right, well, that's the way that cookie crumbles. Okay. I'll put that back. Oh. I did not expect it to move the other existing pin. That's annoying. This is going to get real old real fast, I think. Granted, I think for most diagrams, for like sketching out things that I might do for shows, like planning, like production planning, pre-production planning, I probably will not have things physically laid out in their order. There'd just be however is the best, smartest way to portray the connections, like a schematic. But for now, oh no, this connection's on the bottom. So this has to go all the way down here. I think that might be part of the reason that we had the weirdo connection. So anyway, so the program 1 output, HDMI output, is going to go into the HDMI audio extractor, and then the HDMI out from that will go into an HDMI port somewhere. Then we have ooh. Do I want to do that? Do I want to waste that? Okay, I'm thinking I might have had a reason to do this, but I have in my sketch that I'm going to have aux 6. Wait, isn't there a dedicated program 2 output? Did I do something stupid here? I think I did. Okay, so what I have on paper is that I'm going to have output 6 from the switcher is going to go into the Teranex HDMI converter. And then I was going to have that connection be an HDMI out for program 2. But why would I do that? Because there's a dedicated program 2 out on the back, but I guess if I wanted to distribute that signal in SDI form, it wouldn't make sense to have the single dedicated output going into an HDMI converter, except for the fact that you can loop it out. This also means that I would be hardwiring in the Teranex, and I wouldn't have it available to use on demand to convert to something else. I'm sure this made sense to me when I made it. It doesn't right now. I think for now, well, I'll just do it. Okay, so let me find program 2. Okay, SDI program 2. We'll put that into the Teranex Mini SDI to HDMI. So it will go into the input 1. Okay. There it is. Can we make this not suck? Maybe. This still makes me cry. I still don't like it, because now I gotta add a second pin, and it's gonna mess up the first one. Oh, it didn't this time. Okay. Alright, maybe all is right with the world still. I just wanted this to not be on other stuff. And let's pull this out. There we go. Okay. Okay, so then the SDI loop out can go somewhere else, but this will give us a dedicated HDMI output from program 2, which was really the intent of this. Yeah, because I guess I don't have any other way to do that conversion unless I put an output, an output from unless I have the program 2 going into the video hub, and then the video hub is outputting to the Teranex, which is, I think, the preferred way to do it. But I, again, think that there must be some reason that I didn't do that. Maybe I thought I didn't have the video hub ports available to me to do that. Because on earlier designs, that was the case. Let's see. Okay, HDMI in from the GH5 is going to go straight to the HDMI in input on the ATEM, but it's got to go through one of these panels, which I haven't connected any of the panels yet for HDMI. I'm just doing all the other intermediate connections. Okay, the HDMI quad output will go straight to the monitor. I think we talked about this before. It's a quad viewer, but it's HDMI and it's 4K, and it was much cheaper than doing this with an SDI multi-view. So hopefully that doesn't let me down. That's the new thing I was saying that I had. This finally arrived. I got it the other day. I have not even opened the box for it yet, so I am excited to get into this. But I don't want to do this tonight. At least not right now, because I want to try to make more progress on this wiring. So, okay. The output from this is going to go straight to one of the monitors. Do not pass go. Then we also have the output, one of the HDMI outputs from the Raspberry Pi is going to go straight to one of the monitors. Well, I say that, but it will need to go through one of the connectors. Excuse me. Because the HDMI output on the Raspberry Pi is on the side that's on the inside of the rack. That's not the side that's mounted outward on the panel. It's on the external connections port panel. I don't know what the word is, and I can't construct sentences right now. So that'll still have to run through one of the patch panels in order to connect, but it will connect effectively directly instead of going through any other intermediaries. Then we have the mini monitor, has an HDMI output on it. It has an SDI output and an HDMI output. The HDMI output will go to potentially the stage monitor if I was going to connect it with HDMI instead of SDI. Or just so I have an additional monitor at my station, I could set up another monitor and have it connect to that just to monitor this output. This is going to be primarily a stage output from ProPresenter, which allows you to make like preview views and stuff like that. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a stage monitor, but it's a utility output that you can use. So that's what I intend to use this for, is to get that extra output from ProPresenter for dedicated previewing things, not something that would ever get switched. And then I have a spare HDMI in input that's going to go into the bidirectional HDMI in, which goes to the bidirectional SDI out, which is going to go into the Smart Video Hub somewhere. Okay, so that is a thing that can happen. So that's all the HDMI connections, and then I got to figure out where I'm going to put them. Let's do, you know what, here, let's do this. Let's figure out what our Ethernet situation is right now. So that is a thing that I can do right now. Oh, there are also the multi-views. Hold on, let me do the multi-views, maybe. Where's the, oh, there's the multi-viewer, okay. One of them is the raw multi-view out HDMI from the ATEM. So there's multi-view 1, which is going to go into input 1. Oh, multi-view HDMI to HDMI. There we go. That's a good connection. Add a pin and make this not ridiculous or less ridiculous. Okay. We'll do the same thing with 2, a multi-view 2 going into input 2. Down there, we'll add a pin right there. And then I can add this guy right here. Yeah. Yeah, that works. Okay. We have the HDMI output from the Mac is gonna go into the multi-viewer, so we'll have there he is. Okay, there's that. Oh, it needs a pin just for like the most minor of ridiculous connections here. Just right there, just need to do that very minor modification right there. And then finally, we have the ISO. What? The ISO out 1 will go into the bidirectional SDI in, and then go into the HDMI out from the bidirectional. So we can do some of this, because this will connect to the bidirectional converter. Where does it live? I'm trying to remember. It's up there. Okay. So I need the HDMI output from here to go into this. There. There we go. Okay. Add a pin. And let's figure out what we can do with this. We can do this. Maybe. Maybe kind of, sort of. Okay. I guess. I'm not happy about it, but again, it's as good as we're going to do for now. Okay. What else? Is this a pin? This is a pin. I can't adjust this, right? Can I? Keep saying remove pin. And yet, I don't have a pin that I can grab onto. Okay, we're going to add a second pin. Alright, whatever. Okay. Okay, so we have all the inputs to the HDMI multiviewer. There's an output from that that goes somewhere. I think I have otherwise done all of the intermediary connections. So yeah, there's that. For now, we have the Program 2 output going to the Terranex Mini SDI to HDMI 12G rather than to the the Smart Video Hub, but that might change later. Okay, so that's the HDMI connections. Let's do network now because that's a big question mark in my mind of where all of these things will connect and what needs connections. Okay. The exhaust fan of here does not need network, neither does this. The Pro Convert SDI does need Ethernet, so we will connect that to output 1. Oh gosh, come on. You're killing me. Alright. This is gonna get really old really quickly, especially with this 24 port managed switch. Gotta be 24 wires coming out of this thing. That's not enough room. I'm gonna end up having to rearrange stuff. I know it. It's gonna suck. Okay, so there's that. Microconverter does not have Ethernet. Neither does this. Okay. Keystone patch panel has a lot of Ethernet, but we're not there yet. Okay. Ethernet from the Smart Video Hub. Yes. Okay. That is done. Oh my god, look at this. Why does it go all the way up here? That's just so ridiculous. That's such overkill. What is this thing thinking? Why is that still going all the way up there? I don't understand. I don't get it. Why is this being hard? Alright, we're gonna add another pin. And we'll put that there. And then we will add one more pin. Oh, you can only do 2 pins? Are you kidding me? Oh, that is bullcrap. You've got to be kidding me. No way. Why is it going up this way? Why is it doing that? We're going to delete this cable and try it again. Oh my god. Add pin. It just does not want to let me put this pin on this stem at all. But I don't know why it's got this enormous stem going all the way up here. WTF, mate? Now I got 2 pins. Neither of which can fix the actual problem I'm trying to fix. Oh, that's disgusting. That's utterly disgusting. Oh. I think this thing's smarter than me in that it knows that this is going to get real messy real quick. It's probably because once I get all of these, like all of these need to be different heights. Oh, that's going to be a real mess. It's going to be such a mess. What would be really nice would be if there was the ability to make a single one of these guys make it make individual ones be like left to right, or like instead of having this horizontal, have this one be vertical, especially these ones that have a lot of connections, like these 24 port things. Having these be horizontal is brutal because it just eats up all your real estate. especially because they connect to so many different things in different places. So it makes this such a rat's nest. Ugh. All right, we'll delete this cable, and I'm just gonna put it in, and I'm just gonna leave it because I have given up all hope on life at this point. Okay, that makes me very upset though. That's very upsetting. Okay. Oh, excuse me. We have the HD sync generator does not have an Ethernet port, nor does the HDMI multi-view. The Neutrik patch panel does not. Also, the Ultra Studio 4K Mini does not have Ethernet, but the HyperDeck does. So the HyperDeck will connect to input 3. And maybe this one I can at least make it suck less. Yeah, that sucks a little bit less. Okay. Port 4. Well, let me do this the other way. Ethernet. I need Ethernet going to the Mac. Obviously. Ooh, no. Why is that an output? Why is there an Ethernet output? That's really weird. It doesn't feel like that should be there. It's also got Thunderbolt as input and output. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, typically I tend to make the USB's inputs on the computers and have the peripherals be the outputs, which may be not the correct order of ceremonies, but it's what we're gonna do. Oh no. Oh no. Some editing features are removed because cables are connected to this item. Oh, this is what I feared. So I guess you can change connection types, but you can't add and remove connections once something is connected to it. So, all right, we're going to break this cable. Delete this cable. Okay, we're going to edit this real quick. Oh, that means that, if I have anything connected to the patch panels, I'm going to have to reconnect all those later. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Oh, I'm starting to wonder if this might actually be easier to do in Excel at some point. At some point, this stops being useful. Okay, so this is not an output. This is not an output. I'm just going to change this guy to HDMI and make it not suck. This is not an output. Neither of those are outputs. And this is definitely not an output. Okay, so HDMI and phones should be the only outputs from the Mac Mini. Everything else are inputs. Yep, okay. All right. We will reconnect it. Oh no, these guys also had names, and their names aren't here. Why? Why? Terranex shelf. Oh, and then I keep hitting enter by accident. Who would put multi-line labels on zones? A monster. That's who. How's everyone doing out there? Anyone watching? Is anyone even watching? I think I'm still talking to the void. Bark twice if you're in Milwaukee. Let's see. Oh, this is the Mac Mini shelf. Is that what I typed there? It's real small on my screen. I can't imagine how small it is on yours. Okay. So we had that was going into one of the HDMI inputs. Yeah, this one. Okay, so we had an HDMI output here. There we go. Ugh. Makes me sad. You make me sad. You'll make me sad. You make me sad. I don't know why I'm doing that stupid voice, but it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. It's got Surge vibes. Surge. Which doesn't mean anything to any of you, probably. It's a Craig Ferguson reference. It's one of the funny. It's probably my favorite video, or like moment on the Late Late Show. Anyway, I came over here to connect something. Was the Ethernet? Yeah, because there's an Ethernet input, and I want the Ethernet output from Ethernet port 4. Okay, we got it. We got it. Okay. The Ultra Studio Mini Monitor 3G is going to connect to one of these Thunderbolt inputs. And then the Raspberry Pi also needs Ethernet, but it doesn't even have Ethernet on here. Oh, man. It is not PoE though, unfortunately. You can make it do PoE, but it requires extra peripherals. I don't need any more peripherals. Add-ons. Anything. I don't need anything. Port 5? Question mark? Was that taken before already? No, it wasn't. It was not. Okay. There we go. So now we got, let me make this just a little bit bigger then to account for that. All right, so the Ethernet port from the Raspberry Pi is plugged in. Everything on this row is done. Row 8, we have the UltraMatch Pro. This does not have an Ethernet port, but the Dante adapter that goes with it does. So we have let me connect up this XLR cabling too while we're at it. So the AES in is coming from the digital out. Digital XLR, digital out, XLR, yes. And then there's an AES out, which goes into the digital in XLR on this guy. Okay, and then we have an Ethernet connection that will go up to the router in port 6. Great, okay. What is this stuff down here? Oh, these are all important. Okay, because each of these three, these are all PoE devices, so they definitely need connected here. ETHPoE, ETHPoE. All right, we're up to 9. Okay. And then we have the ATEM2ME Production Studio 4K, which obviously has Ethernet somewhere. I think I called it control. Yeah, control. Okay, so it's called control here. Man, that's so hard to see. Why? Nope, 10. Okay, that's connected. Nothing else here has an Ethernet connection. So I'm only using 10 Ethernet ports on my 24 port switch. So yeah, I'm gonna have to connect a few things. I'm not gonna need, I don't want to use 14 of the slots from the Keystone, so I might just have to accept that not all the ports are available from the Keystone. Okay, so I can give up this one, though, the 422, because I don't really use that. That was just if I had this port spare, but I think I don't. Okay, so if I get rid of that, and I have the USB still, and I have the fiber here, plus the 14 remaining connections on the port, that is 16 keystone connections. And I have SDI starting on 15. So at least 2 of these SDI connectors will have to come out. If there are 24 here and I have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. If I need 8 HDMI ports and I don't want to do Neutrik, I'll have to get rid of, I'm going to move over this USB one to port 2. I am going to, I will then make the next 14 of these be Ethernet ports. And then I will have 8, the remaining 8 be HDMI. Or 7. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. So, okay, so I need up through 16. These are all going to be Ethernet for now. And then woo, my chair felt like it was going to tip. I know it's not going to, but it always just still scares me. And then I will have 1, 2. Okay, let's do it this way. So we'll have 7 HDMI. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we will have 14. So that takes us to 21, which would be out 4 here. And then we got USB, the RS422, and the fiber. Okay, so I can leave these intact. I just need to keep all of these up through... let's see. Let's just edit this while I'm doing it. Okay, so this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out 18 will be HDMI, and the rest of these will become HDMI. Okay. Okay. And then these will be Ethernet, and I will just have to suck it up and remove all those BNC connectors. However, this does mean that I will need probably the SDI panel, but that's okay, because that one, I have a panel that's only SDI connections, or only BNC connectors, and you can't swap them out. So a Neutrik panel, you can at least swap out the ports. You know, each of the holes, you can switch out connectors. And so that gives you a lot more flexibility. Yeah. So if I were to only use SDI connectors on either or both a Neutrik panel and the Keystone and not use my SDI panel, then that would feel wasteful to me. Like I'm not using the SDI panel at all, and instead using up Neutrik panels that could be more valuably used in another rack or some other future project where I need Neutrik panels. So I think it's better if I don't have the Neutrik panel and instead I use the SDI. The main thing was that I thought I thought my only option for doing HDMI connectors was Neutrik. The one thing that is not, okay. XLR connectors will not work in a Keystone panel. They are actually too big. It's just, you just looking at them. If you knew how big a Keystone panel was, the squares in them, and you just look at an XLR port, you know that it's too big. So that won't work if I wanted to have XLR connections coming out of the rack. That has to be Neutrik. There's nothing else that will do that. I could just have some long XLR cables, you know, as not quite a snake, but like a tail, as a pigtail, available that I could pull out if I need to connect something to the XLR ports. But if I won't regularly use it, then is it worth adding in a whole Neutrik panel just for 2 XLR connectors that I won't use most of the time? Probably not. So the thing is, in the switcher, there are 3 sets of XLR connections. So let's go down and zoom in on the ATEM2ME. Okay, so on the ATEM2ME, there is the XLR left out, the XLR right out, and this is the main program 1 mix. Then there's monitor left and monitor right. And finally, we have left in and left right. So there are 6 XLR connections. My plan is to have, and I can just go ahead and do this actually, is that the analog outputs from this, okay, so this is a Dante receive, well, it's a dual direction, a bidirectional converter. So this can send and receive Dante signals for 4 channels, 2 in, 2 out. But it's using a digital connection, so it's only a single XLR cable that connects here, but it's a digital signal, and so it's actually got 2 audio signals embedded in 1 connector. So I have the UltraMatch Pro here, which we didn't talk about at all last time, I don't think. I have the UltraMatch Pro SRC2496 by Behringer. This is a device that has been discontinued for a long time, I think. But the SRC stands for sample rate converter. That's originally what its primary purpose was for upscaling and downscaling audio signals. But it had the side advantage of it had both, it supported AES, AES3 inputs and outputs, which is a digital format for sending audio data over like XLR cables in a digital format, which I think we've talked about on a previous stream. So the idea is the XLR ports that are on this are digital, so I can't just take those and plug them into just, you know, any of these inputs here, because this device doesn't know how to interpret the digital signal, and it'll just create a bunch of static, I think is what it sounds like. If you were to actually listen to the raw signal as an analog, you know, just like a regular microphone signal, it would not be good. So anyway, so we have this Dante connector, which is connecting the audio to and from the ATEM, which will go to the X32 that we talked about in the first half of the stream. And so this is how the audio will get in and out of the the switcher. I don't really have a need that I can think of for getting the program audio out of this and back into Dante from the program feed, because ideally the program feed should mostly be audio coming from the mixer already, and there would just be maybe a couple of additional inputs that are coming in natively to the video switcher that aren't passing through the Dante audio network otherwise. So what I'm thinking is that I can use these monitor outputs to specify kind of solo specific tracks that I want to output those on these monitor channels and have those go out to the mixer, and then I could technically also mix those inputs in with the main master mix that will come back into the switcher. and go straight to the output from these inputs, rather than having it mix it, actually doing any audio mixing the in the ATEM here. So I think there's not a use case for getting the main program out audio other than potentially monitoring purposes, which I'll technically be doing not in, I won't be able to listen to it, but I will at least be able to see it because the program 1 HDMI port is hardwired into the audio extractor, which has the connection to the Clarity M Stereo audio monitor thing that I will have on the table, so I can monitor the audio signal in a graphical way, and at least make sure that it's the right loudness and that there is audio coming out. But again, I won't really have a good way to preview it. I guess I could preview it by actually having the audio play out through one of the monitors, like one of the HDMI monitors. Both of them actually have built-in speakers. So if I really needed to, in a pinch, I could preview that way. But I'm thinking, for even like some of the sophisticated use cases that I think people have discussed previously, notably Doug Johnson, who has an entire, all of his intercom stuff is done through Dante, which is pretty cool. And I could still do that. One of the things that he likes to do, though, is mix in a program feed into the intercom audio through Dante. But I think that I can still effectively get the program audio by instead just combining the signals from the monitor outputs here and the otherwise master mix from the X32. I combine those, mix those together, and that's essentially going to be the same as the program out without being the actual program out. So the only thing is that I won't easily have a way to directly monitor the audio outputs from this, but short of like a glitch or a short or something like that, hypothetically, it should be the same signal as what I just described. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and connect the audio output from the monitor port into the analog in and out. So the monitors will go, the monitor outs from the ATEM will go into the inputs on the Ultramatch, which will embed it into the digital signal that will go out through the Dante network. Then we have the analog out left, which goes into the left in. We have the right in, and there is a device missing here that I just realized, I think. Yep. Hold on. Let me add this really quick. So we have the AVO. I have an analog input adapter. This is 2XO, but that's not what I have. I think I just, well, whatever. It's not right. The question is, where did it put this? It's gonna have put this somewhere stupid, didn't it? It's gonna be right here. I knew it. I knew it would put it somewhere stupid. Okay. So this is 2XO, which makes it sound like it has two line inputs. It does not. I think that this has, I think I put the wrong name here. I think it's because I duplicated something that I got from, ooh, okay. I think it's because I duplicated something that I got from the interwebs. I'll put this over here. It's technically going to be physically attached. So this has like an XLR adapter built into it, and you could plug it straight into something. And so I will have this thing. There's not. It's not even. It doesn't even need an XLR cable. So like this device will physically be plugged into the LTC out XLR port here, and then convert that time code signal out into a Dante signal, which requires an Ethernet connection. So I have now found another Ethernet connection. There we go. So now we're up to 11 there. So now I only have 13 Ethernet ports that I need to account for. It's looking like I might have a spare port on the on the keystone panel. And I, well, okay, nope, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. While I'm here though, oh, this is already connected. Okay, I already connected that. That is already connected. This I didn't want to deal with right now. Then we have all these Ethernets. Okay, I think, like I was saying, I've got all the Ethernet connections that I know about done. We've got the audio done, technically, now. Yeah, so let's go ahead and wire up the remaining guys from here into the keystone panel, just so I have that done. And I can see that spare... Oh, nope. Okay, we're going to have... Okay, this got to be in... Right? Yeah. Okay. So in 4 needs to go out 12. Okay. In 5 goes to 13. 6, 14, 7, 15, 8, 16, 9, 17, 10, 18, 11, 19, 12, 20, 13, 21, 14, 22. Hi, Craig. Oh, he just came down and laid on my foot. What a sweet boy. Was it 16? 23, 17, 24. Oh, maybe this is still right. Somehow, weirdly, question mark? Did I do my mental math wrong? Probably. Okay. Oh, I skipped 15. Why? Is this even connected? Nope, it's not. It's not. So I skipped one. Damn. Okay, I think that's where Craig came in. Damn it, Craig. It's all your fault. Delete. Okay. So we got, 14, 22, 15, 23, 16, 24. That's what I was expecting. And then I have a spare Ethernet here, and then we have HDMIs. Okay. So I guess we can go ahead and wire up the HDMIs then as well. So we have HDMI here going to this. Go to 18. Okay, that connection is already there. Bidirectional HDMI out. This looks like it has a cable connected to it already. But of course, because of this mess, this mess of cables. I can't even see what the connection is. All right. So it goes somewhere. HDMI in. Oh, right. The HDMI in was unclaimed. So we'll put that on 20 because... Oh, nope. Put it to out 20. Because this was supposed to be program 1. And we will have program 2 coming out through the Teranex. So we'll do 19 to the HDMI out of the Teranex. Okay, so now we have connections on 1, 2, pretend 3 is done, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is blank, 18, 19, 20. All right. We got 4 more. We got 21, right? Nope. 19, 20. Question mark? Was 20 claimed? 18, 19. Oh, why is this so hard to see? God damn it. What did I just connect? I swear I just connected something to... Oh, it's coming in through out 20, so this is an input port. Oh, that's deceiving. Okay, well, at least I know what it was. So 20 is claimed. All right, so 21. We'll make that the... So 21 will be the Raspberry Pi, HDMI 1. We have the HDMI quad out. It's going in 22. I've got 2 more. Okay, so we got program 1, program 2. Oh, the ATEM input will be, we'll make that the last one. So then I just have 23 to go. There we go. That connection is made. And it hurts me to look at it. Okay. And mini monitor. That's the one. Mini monitor. HDMI to something. Crap. It needs to go to the input on 23. HDMI. There we go. Okay, so all of the ports on the Keystone patch panel are now spoken for. All remaining connections must be SDI, or we're going to need the Neutrik panel. So I think, like I was saying, I think we can get away with not having any XLR connectors on this at all. And only SDI remains. I'm going to go ahead and I think I actually want to put the patch panel. No, I think it makes sense for the patch panel to be down here. Nope, I want to put it up here. I want to put the patch panel up here. I think. Nope. No. I'm gonna... can't make up my mind. I could also put the SDI panel up here at the top and put the Keystone panel down. It doesn't really matter where either of these go. Just trying to figure out which makes the most sense. So let's move the Neutrik panel off to the side since we're not using it. So I think because most of this... All right, we got to figure out what we're going to do with the Smart Video Hub. That's a big question mark right now in my brain. I I got to figure out what to do with all of those guys. Yeah. I think a lot of stuff is going to end up getting hardwired in. Oh, let's see. We're 15 minutes over when I wanted to take a break, but it's almost 10. I'm going to push through for just a few more minutes, and then we'll call it here. So this is really great progress, though. Okay, so let's figure out what we're going to hardwire in. So I know that I have these SDI to quad SDIs that I think I talked about last time, maybe. I hope I did. I'm going to assume that I did and just do this. So we're going to have the outputs from those hardwired in to the last 8 here. So we got that, and that. And then we got that. That. Nope, it didn't take. That. That. And that. Okay. So there we go. And that leaves us with 12 inputs at this point. One is not really going to get used. I'll put this back down here for now. But I'll go ahead and put it on the SDI patch panel for now. So input 1, I'll have the ability to plug in something on that port in case I don't use the HDMI connection in some weird instance. Okay, and then what other things do we have? So one of the things that I removed from this system is the bird dog device. And that's because I decided that I think it might be beneficial for me to have that out available to use as an external peripheral rather than having it hardwired into the rack. I will probably end up using it more often than not in the rack anyway, but it's not a lot of connections. It's not a huge pain to set up every time, so I think it's probably okay if that's part of the manual setup part of the process. So the bird dog is not going to get hardwired in. The other thing is that the bird dog needs to go. I think that the bird dog needs to go to. Have we even talked about the bird dog? I don't know if we have. So the bird dog, it's the bird dog quad 4K, which is a very controversial device because it overpromised and underdelivered on what it could actually do. But what it does is, hypothetically, it gives you it allows you to have 4 SDI ports that can connect to and it can encode or decode those signals to and from NDI. So it's like having 4 of those NDI encoders. The Magewells that I have 2 of in here already. One for the GoPro. Why can I never remember the name GoPro? And the other one is like it to be able to monitor things. That I get the video over the internet. So it can take 4 of those internet signals and either convert it to SDI or convert it from SDI into NDI and send it over the network. The original advertising materials made it sound as if you could assign the ports individually. So maybe you could have 2 inputs and 2 outputs. The current firmware, at least the one that I have installed, because I haven't updated it in a long time, but there may be a new update. The way that it was left a little bit ago, it was all or nothing. You could have 4 outputs or 4 inputs, but you couldn't mix and match, which is kind of a bummer. But I mostly intended to have 4 outputs all of the time. That's what I bought it for, so that's fine. Because I have these SDI or these NDI sources coming in from a couple different of my devices here, and I wanted to be able to output those into the switcher in SDI. I didn't have an easy way to do that otherwise, so I got the quad 4K, and it's a long story how I ended up with that device. One of the other, as the name implies, it's quad, and then it says 4K. So one of the things that they originally had promised was that it could encode or decode 4K signals, 4 simultaneous 4K signals. But everyone that I've heard of who has attempted to actually do that has not been able to successfully do it, or it does it glitchy, like some of the video frames will get dropped and stuff like that. And so it's not reliable running in that mode. And oh, my voice dropped again. I just noticed that. And so it's but it's not a mode that I intend to use it. Because right now I'm not doing that much 4K stuff, and I figure by the time I actually upgrade to 4K, either they'll have better, cheaper hardware out that will do the same thing, maybe, or they'll have fixed the firmware to make it not suck, or I'll have moved on to something else entirely. So it's not totally a sunk cost, but right now I'm really just using it for HD outputs. But it is for taking in video inputs in NDI format and outputting them to SDI. One of the things that I want to be able to do with it, though, is, one of the cameras is the GoPro. The GoPro is going to send its signal using NDI, as I've talked about ad nauseum today and other streams. What I am not going to do is use the built-in SD card slot in the GoPro, and I need a way to record it. My plan was to record it with the SDI Pro ISO, which, by the way, is still recording right now. Hasn't malfunctioned today. It's so unpredictable, and it drives me crazy. And makes me very nervous and not want to use this for anything, which sucks. I wish that it was really something that was a user error, and it turned out like it's not the thing just being flaky. But I suspect that it's the thing being flaky. I think the very first time it happened, it was another time when Craig was up here and he walked on the panel and changed my camera view and stuff. And so the first time it happened, I think I thought that he did something. But it's happened again since then while he's been asleep at my feet and stuff like he is right now. And so and he certainly didn't break it. He didn't break the device. I don't let him get up here usually unless I'm sitting here anyway and I'm monitoring him. He wasn't doing anything that bad. He just he just likes to walk on keyboard sometimes, and he's not heavy. It wouldn't have. Look, it works most of the time, but not all of the time. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. The point was, I want to record the video coming from the GoPro, and I wanted to do it originally with the SDI Pro ISO. But the SDI Pro ISO does not have a way, does not ideally have a way to get video looped back out of it once you put it into it for recording. And so if I had the signal from the NDI, if I had the bird dog output that's reconverting the signal to SDI, going straight into, say, the SDI Pro ISO, I would not be able to route that into my switcher, at least not easily. So the bird dog outputs, I think, will tend to be outputs that aren't recorded elsewhere, and thus are things that will need to be routed into the ISO. So I need to split those signals. And what I intended to do was have the bird dog connected to the Smart Video Hub, which will allow me to route the 4 signals to whatever outputs I want, and just by default I would have it going to 4 outputs going into the SDI Pro ISO, and another 4 outputs that go to the ATEM, so I can get the video signal in both places without having to do like, you know, actual like physical splitters on the connectors or anything. So all of this to say, I debated about having the bird dog hardwired into this system. I don't think it makes sense to do so at this point. The mini monitor, I was going to hardwire in. Was I? I have on paper that I was considering having it hardwired in. But I think given that it might also be used for output for a stage monitor, I might want to reserve the ability to send that out, which I could do. Well, okay. For now, let's wire it in. So we're going to take the Ultra Studio Mini Monitor 3G and have the SDI output going into input 12 on the ATEM. We'll have that hardwired. We also have the Ultra Studio, the Ultra Studio A and B, which should be going into the Teranex quad splitters here. And then if I want that signal looped out, I can do that. But I was considering having this signal loop out into like 10 and 11 here, I think. So let's go ahead and just do that for now. It may not stay this way. Oh, you're going to take 10, 11. Nope, that didn't work. Why does this work only half the time? There we go. All right. If I decide, you know, because if this is running in HD mode, these ports will just be blank. So they're just wasted space. But I also only have 5 cameras. So the rest of this is all really just graphics, which feels like overkill. It almost certainly is overkill, but it's what I got. So, and I have big dreams for how I want all of this to work. So, you know, smoke them if you get them. Then we have the GoPro signals need to come in, the Micro Studio signals need to come in, and the PTZ signals need to come in. The HDMI is already covered and probably going to be the Lumix camera. I suppose technically the Lumix camera could go in HDMI into the micro converter instead. But I think it's more likely that this camera will be set up close to me where I can access it, because the others I can remote control and this one I cannot. So it might be close enough in proximity that I'll just stick with HDMI. So to that end, I'll need an input for then maybe this other camera, but yeah. Okay, so I think that if I want to, anything I want to see has to appear on a multi-view though, because of the way that I'm setting this up, where I've got the multi-views hardwired into the monitor quads, and that's the only videos that I have coming out right now for now. Another asterisk. So I think that all of the cameras need to come in. So we'll get cameras in on 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Well, let me just go ahead and do that. So everything, let's assume everything's coming in over SDI. So we got this. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this the stupid way? All right, let's do it this way. So we're gonna do 2 goes to 2, 3 goes to 3, 4 goes to 4, 5 goes to 5. It will always be just these 4, really, because the 5th camera will always be HDMI, whichever one it is. I think almost always. Right? This one's always SDI. This one's always SDI. This one is NDI. Oh yeah, so that comes in through the other thing anyway. It doesn't even come in through a hardwire connection. So I really only need 4 hardwire connections. Because the GoPro will come in over NDI, so it'll come in through the bird dog. So this is hardwired, this is hardwired. This is going through the biconverter, the bidirectional converter, so it will come out as SDI. And then we have the GH5, which may one day come out in HDMI, but for now it's not. So this is camera 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is input 5 that will come in through the bird dog. So I just need to make sure I have 4 inputs left for the bird dog. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I got 1 spare. Okay, so that is, let me break this connection. I'm gonna break the connection there that I said I didn't want to really do here. Delete that one. Nope, 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 nope. Delete this one. Okay, I'm gonna rewire this again. So we'll do the Ultra Studio A is gonna go to 11. B will be 12. Okay. So then we'll put the mini monitor on, what is that, 10? Gosh, this is so small. It's hard to see. Okay, so we got that. And then we got to get these 4. So these 4 at a minimum will come from outputs of the Smart Video Hub. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign all 5 of these to outputs from the Smart Video Hub. So we'll have input 5 will come from the Smart Video Hub. Oh gosh. Let's do it. Okay, we'll do it this way. So 5 to 5, 6 to 6, 7 to 7, 8 to 8. Now, the reason that I'm doing that is because these guys here are going to go to the SDI Pro ISO. I don't care as much about the order of these right now as much as just making sure I have placeholders for all this stuff. So out 5, well, did I click the right one? So output 4 will go to 5 here. No, this is bad. I take it back, delete. Okay, so 1 to 5, 2 to 6, 3 to 7, 4 to 8. That didn't take. 4 to 8. Okay. So now we have 8 slots on the SDI panel covered. We have 8 slots on the Smart Video Hub covered. So these will be part of the snake going out to the this rack up here, which again, not going to wire it up right now. I also know that I'm going to have 2 cables coming into it, which are the 2 outputs from the ISO. One of them is going to go to the bidirectional converter, I think. Yeah. Okay, because there's this HDMI out. Okay, HDMI in, SDI in. All right, let me do this again. So this HDMI in goes to the Keystone. HDMI out goes to the multi-view. Okay, I think the SDI in of this is going to come in through an output on the hub. Because I think that the two inputs here from this guy should be routable inputs. So we'll just go ahead and do that. So we'll say that this output 9 is going to go to N1. Output 10 will go to N2. And then I already had one of these going to that microconverter. The SDI out from here is also going to go into that. Okay. So that leaves me with this one input here that I'm going to connect to output 10 from the Smart Video Hub. Okay. Now, this is where things get interesting because all 20 inputs of the ATEM, including all 21 technically, are covered. I'm not going to do LTC in. Left in, right in are both done. Power is not done. Control is done though. Ref in is not done. This is actually done, the RS422. So we have the 6 aux outputs. We have preview 1, program 1. There's 2 program 1s actually. Program 1 HD, program 2. The HDMI output is taken care of. We've got multi-views, but I probably won't connect those in at this point, but maybe. There's a USB connection here, which is part of the connection that goes up to the Keystone. There's HDMI connections there. These are plugged in. These are left undone. And this is addressed. So yeah, so we got USB and the rest of these outputs that we got to figure out what we're gonna do with them. I want to do the loop out from the Teranex because it's hardwired into program 2 right now. And I was saying I think that I want this to be routable. Okay, so if I have 10 slots left here, what do I still need to have things going to? Okay, one of them needs to go to that guy, to this Magewell NDI converter, because that's what it's there for. So let's just do that one now. Oh, there it is. It's right there. I thought I had to go further away. The microconverter, I think all the ports are plugged in now except power. Yep. All these HDMIs are addressed now. Oh, no, that's not what that is. That's the fiber thing. That's all done. There's nothing SDI above it. We got, this is all addressed. This is all basically addressed. There is a ref in, which comes from here. And we'll just do that down here as well while we're at it. So we got ref in there. So that's done. We got a ref, another tri-level going to the ref input from the Ultra Studio. Okay. So things that have SDI inputs are Ultra Studio, HyperDeck, Teranex question mark. Okay, this is making me think that this is routable. I'm feeling like this is routable. Okay, so we're gonna take the SDI output from this guy. We're gonna break that connection again. I am going to make this input also be another Smart Video out connection and have the SDI from the Ultra Studio go in, from the Ultra Studio mini monitor, to be clear, going to, oh, it's not clear to me what's taken here and what's not. Oh, that's taken, that one's not. Okay, 4. It's gonna go to input 4. we have, oh, that one's connected. This needs to connect to this Thunderbolt there. Did that actually take? It did take. Okay. All right, we got an SDI input from the smart video. Going to this guy. There's also a ref input here. But it doesn't really need it because I'm not doing graphics. I'm not doing any output with the HyperStudio, the HyperDeck. So it doesn't really need the reference signal. So I'm gonna save it for now. The Ultra Studio has it though. Okay, I think this is the only oh, nope, did we connect this? Output 14 goes to the Ultra Studio. So we have the SDI in, HDMI I'm not going to use, the ref, and then I think the rest of these, that's audio, power, and then that's analog video. Okay, so we're not using any of that stuff. We got SDI A, B, there's the loop out from the input, but that's not important. HDMI is not being used, and neither of those outputs are being used. And then the Thunderbolt connection to the Mac. Okay, so that's all connected up. I think this is all connected up. I think this is, well, all I really need to do is HDMI there. Power is the main thing that I think hasn't been addressed anywhere yet. Is the HyperDeck done? So we have the, oh, we don't have either the outputs there. We don't have any of the outputs anywhere from that guy. That's fine. We've got Ethernet for him. There's no reference, and then the SDI. Okay. So it looks like we're using up through output 14 now. So I've got the signal going into the Ultra Studio. I've got it going into the HyperDeck. I've got it going into the Magewell, the microconverter. We got a whole bunch of them going into the ATEM. And did I change this? Nope, this is still hardwired. Okay, so we're going to change this so the Teranex input is now going to come from output 15. And so the output of that will still go to the monitor. So that way I reserve the last, or reserve one of the panels to be something that's routable. Wait, what? Why is that connected there? Oh, yes, never mind. It's the, I wanted to have a routable HDMI output. Okay, never mind. That makes sense, that makes sense. Okay, but it's not going to any of the monitors necessarily. That's fine, that's fine. Yeah, I got it on the multi-view, so we're good. Oh, it is after 10 o'clock. But again, nobody's watching, so it's not like I'm keeping anybody else up. I need to go to bed though at some point soon, but well, we'll do this. I just want to get through this last push because I think we're close. Okay. So I think since this is a routed signal, the loop out is less important now from the Teranex. So that's not important anymore. You know, similarly, I could have the loop out from the Ultra Studio going into this guy. So now inputs is maybe going to be the constraint here, not outputs, because I got a bunch of outputs left over here. Okay, so we're only using 4 inputs currently, but I know that we have the 6 aux connections. I at least want one of these program ones. This program 1 HD, it never made sense to me to have that be routable. I think I'm just going to have it go straight to the panel. But that is going to go to the Terra deck, which is not mounted in the route, but needs to connect somewhere. So that'll be the connection for the Terra deck, and it won't really go anywhere else because everyone else will get the full thing. If I'm in 4K, everyone else can get the 4K signal, but the Terranex only supports HD anyway, so we'll just have it go straight out instead of having it be routable. So we'll have a program 1, we'll have a program 2. I don't need to route the multi-views because they're already going to a monitor. So it's again one of those that like, well, I could wire that up later if I wanted to. So I'll probably have these guys going to one of these. We'll have these go to hard outputs or to patch panel, I guess. That's a USB, so that doesn't matter. And that's all audio. Okay, so we got that. That's already also going. So we need program 2 is going to go to... at some point I probably want to have at least one of these outputs from the Smart Video Hub going to patch panel, so I can get it out for any SDI monitors. Actually, we'll have 2 of those. What'd I do? 19. So 19 and 20 are taken. So this leaves me with 15, 16, 17, 18. So we got 3 outputs left. Okay. From the Smart Video Hub. But let's start connecting these. So aux 1 will go into input 5. Aux 2 will go into input 6. 3 to 7. 4 to 8. 5 to 9. 6 to 10. But the question is, like, are these even going to get routed to anywhere in the system? Right? Because these 4 are really, these are inputs into the switcher. So they're never going to go there. I have this connection going to a keystone? Question mark? No. Where's this going? This one is going up to the bidirectional. Oh, yeah. For HDMI out. For something. Oh, ISO. The ISO out. We got this is just another one going to the switcher. We got this going up to the Magewell, so that's a monitor. That's something I could get an aux from, or an aux into. I guess technically I could have an aux going to the ISO as well, potentially, but what is this? Where's this going? Oh, that's not going anywhere. Is this one of the open ones? Oh, yeah. Okay. So then we have, that's going to that. There's the Magewell. This is also going to the ATEM. Then we got Hyperdeck, Ultra Studio, Terranex. And then 3 blanks. And then 2 routable outputs. So I think there's really only potentially, I'm going to route 4 outputs over here. Nope, 1 more. 17. This is maybe with 1 spare. All right, no, we're gonna do it. All right, we're gonna do it live. Okay, so we got 5 outputs going over here. So all of the outputs from the hub are addressed. So I have potentially 5 output places that I could send aux places, because I think generally the Ultra Studio and and the Mac, nope, the Ultra Studio, the HyperDeck, the Teranex, and the TeraDeck are all going to get other feeds that aren't going to be aux outputs. I guess for completeness, though, just to give me the option, I'll put the 6 up as an input. So, all right. So there we go. The input is addressed. So now we need a program 1 for sure, because that's a signal that gets routed a bunch of places. We need a program 2, because that needs to get routed places sometimes. And then we get into like the multi-view craziness. So I got more inputs to spare. I could put the multi-view up here just for completeness. Then I lose the ability to connect it through this. So there's downsides to that. If I really wanted this, I could loop it back in by connecting it to maybe these inputs here will go, those will be some of the remaining inputs up here. Yeah, how many of these we got? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 remaining ports on the SDI patch panel. 1, 2, 3, nope. Those are reserved already. Nope, that's Keystone, that's why. That's SDI, and that's USB. Okay, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Yeah, 12. So I got 8 more. 1, 2, is that right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, okay. I just want to double check, make sure there wasn't something connected to those, and I just couldn't see it. Nope, there's definitely not. Okay, so we could have 6 of these be inputs that can just come in here. Okay, yeah. All right, here's how we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna have 6 of these guys coming in to the remaining. What did I do? Oh, these have to be outputs. Okay. So we got. Oh, it's just off by 1, and that's annoying. So 19 to 20, 18 to 19, 17 to 18, 16 to 17, 15 to 16, and 14 to 15. Nope, try again. 14 to 15. Okay. And then I have 2 inputs left. And I think what we're going to do with them is those will be, I'm going to have the Ultra Studio loop out connections. Instead of having these go straight in, I'm gonna get rid of them and have these loop outs go into the big guy. Yeah, okay. So the loop is going to go up to 14. And this loop will go up to 13. Okay, so that actually leaves me with 2 spare inputs in the switcher. But no remaining outputs from the video hub. So we remain at a bit of an impasse where I've got like a mismatch here, right? Because, like, I would rather have more inputs to the ATEM than be bottlenecked by the video hub. So I want to capture these inputs in the patch panel, but that means I would have to give up something on the patch panel. So what is on the patch panel already? So we have these 5 outputs that we just set aside to make sure we had all of our auxes covered -6, which is, I think, is it connected? It is. It's up there. Okay. We have these 6 inputs that were like a question mark. We have this, which is multi-view. Oh, okay. That's program 1 HD for the Teradek, so that has to stay there. What is 10? Oh, because this is from the this has to be there because that's the input from the ISO coming in from the other thing. So these are for the cameras. This is for the ISO. This is for the ISO. Yeah, so these are for the camera inputs. These are for the ISO. These 6 are for the ISO snake. This is going to the Teradek. We got a multi-view 1, multi-view 2. Okay, here's the problem. Is... Oh, no, I think we're okay. Because I was going to say, well, where is the bird dog going to go? But there's at least 6 inputs here that go into the Keystone panel. And so that should cover that. If we have all 4 of the quad outs from the bird dog coming out, going into the patch panel, coming out and going into the video hub. And then we have 2 spares there going into the video hub. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't see a reason to fill the video hub slots. So, I am going to... I'm going to drop the multi-view connections here after all, and I'm going to put them into the Keystone. I think that's the right answer. Or, I said Keystone. I meant... What did I mean? I'm going to have these going into the ATEM? Oh, did I F this up? No. Yeah. Okay, I know what I'm doing. So that goes there. Oh gosh, is it this one? I think that's the free one. Okay, there we go. So that's done, and then we'll have the multi-view 1 going up to something up here that's open. Is anything open? Did I end up filling all of these? I know I filled... Okay, so there was those 5. Then there's the Terranex. That, and that, and that, and that. Oh gosh. I did all this rearranging, and then was that not necessary? Oh. I think the video hub is full. Oh, it's starting to wig out on me. I think it knows that it's bedtime. It's 10:30 now. I'm an hour over when I was supposed to take a break. I think we are going to leave it here. So it looks like the hub is full. The ATEM is full. The SDI patch panel is full. The only thing that isn't claimed is Multiview 1 and 2 in SDI form, which we have already in HDMI form going into the quad multi-view, the HDMI quad multi-view. I think this is good. I think this is a good place because it's what is the most likely thing that I want. I like protecting for flexibility in the future, so I don't have to go rebuild and rewire stuff. The reality is, though, that I'm almost always going to be watching the multi-views on SDI monitors with the setup that I have, or HDMI monitors, yeah. And even if I'm in a venue where they have SDI inputs, I'm not going to want to send the multi-view from the ATEM to it. So I think it really would only make sense to use the multi-view SDI outs if I were in a permanent studio setup and I had like a video wall and I really wanted to be able to route them there and use like a video hub or something to do that routing. But I think that's it. Okay, so I think all of the signals, all of the patch panels are accounted for. Power is not done. Power's not done. I think everything else is done. I think everything's done. So I'm going to check this offline and make sure all the connections are there. There is the feature where you can export a patch list from H2R Gear, which should give you a list of all of the connections. And so I'm going to export that. I'm going to verify it in Excel, I guess, and have it kind of double check it against my notes and some other manual checks of things. And if everything looks okay, then I think I'm okay to start building. So for next week, if anyone's even still watching or caring, invested at this point, I think what I'm going to do for next week is I am going to move all of this stuff into my guest room in my house because it's empty currently at the moment, and it'll give me a little more space to work. I also will have easier access to some of the hardware. I'm thinking that I might go do the build in there. So I may either move my setup from here into that room, or I may just do a simple broadcast with OBS and my laptop and a webcam, and that might be sufficient. So we'll see. I'll think about that some more, and maybe you guys will be surprised with what I decide to do next week. So, all right. Well, this has been a really, really productive day. I got a lot done on this. Look, this diagram is atrocious to look at right now, but that's because I think largely I've been focused on trying to lay it out in physical layout, and that just isn't going to work, at least without I needed to leave more space for things. But I also was trying to make it more compact to make it a little easier to see on screen while I'm sharing my screen on the stream. So that was a trade-off that I made. That's why I'm like, it's a tough situation. But anyway, yeah. But this is awesome, and I feel like this is a more complete, more well thought out plan than if I had done this in Excel, where I would just stare at this for a week, 2 weeks, and then find some stupid mistake that I overlooked. That's the power of having some tool like this. So like H2R Gear, to have a visual thing that shows you everything connected, and you can see obviously which ports are still open or unclaimed or whatnot. So and make sure that all the wiring is correct, and that you got things connected to the right connectors and stuff. So yeah, it's all great. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with this. I felt like I was vamping, trying to say something, but my mind has left me. So yeah, I will see you guys next week, and keep it real. In the meantime, have a good evening.